All right, man, peace. So there was a story that was in the news about 2 or 3 weeks ago pertaining to a 30-year-old so-called Caucasian male by the name of Mike Rotundo, who had a lawsuit levied against him by his parents. He was being sued because they felt like they had to compel him to leave their home because he refused to leave their home. And part of assuming manhood is going out there on your own. Every once in a while I touch on this in my videos, and of course my channel is geared towards the so-called black man. And I find it to be very ironic because the stigma has been, for the last 35 years or so, that it's the so-called black man who lives with his mother and he's afraid to go out into the real world and live on his own. Well, in the last 10 years or so, especially with the job market crisis that America has been suffering, and when I say job market crisis, whenever you hear that type of term, that's in reference to how the job market is affecting the young Caucasians. Because the so-called black man has been experiencing a job market crisis for the last 80 years. We know that for a fact. And that is why I always compel brothers to try to develop their gifts and see what they can do in starting their own business. The so-called black man should not be in corporate America, but that's neither here nor there. Point being is this: a situation like that was being endured by Mr. Mike Rotundo is not just a him issue, it's also an issue with his parents. His parents did not imbue him with the qualities that he needed to want to go face the world out there on his own. And due to the fact, and I will address this, that there are issues with the educational system in the United States, especially the so-called college/university system, which is the introduction into the debt slave paradigm that pervades the entire world. They want you to go to these colleges and accrue six-figure debts and loans so that you can be introduced into that lifestyle. And now you have to stay at home, try to find a menial job if you cannot find a job or initiate your career with the degree that you were able to attain in college or at a university. And it will slowly break you down psychologically. And we see that all across America with many 22, 23, 24-year-old people, no matter what their so-called race is, who are depressed because they cannot take the degree that they earned and monetize it. But once again, just getting back to the so-called black man, that's why, and I always tell brothers this, you should try to learn a trade, try to learn a skill, especially if you're someone who's fresh out of high school, you're not quite sure if you want to go to college, you don't know what you want to do. Go learn a trade, go learn carpentry, learn how to be an electrician, learn plumbing, learn air conditioning installation, things of that nature that you know you'll be able to use in case you decide that you don't want to go to college. Something that you can learn in 6 to 8 months. You're only going to accrue about an $11,000 to $12,000 debt, which is something that you'll easily be able to pay off because you're going to get a job just like that. And then when you're 20, 21 years old, if you decide that you want to go back to school and get a college degree and something, you can do so. And in the meantime, you'll be able to provide for yourself and live out on your own. But you don't want to get stuck in that rut of living under your parents. All that does is retard your maturation, retard you coming into the fullness of your manhood. And it's also going to impede your ability to develop a relationship with a female because you're living up under your mother, you're living up under your parents. And that's not good, man. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
The upstate New York parents suing their adult son in an attempt to get him to move out finally will get their way. But the 30-year-old is not going down without a fight. CBS 2's Ali Bauman has the story.
And let me say this once again. When you have a person like this, his parents failed him as well. And I'm sure that they talk with each other about this at night and they say to themselves, where did we go wrong with him? For it to come to the point where they have to sue him to make him leave, it's very obvious that he's come to expect so much from them. That's why the scripture tell you not to cocker your child. For those of you who have an Apocrypha or who have a King James 1611 Bible, when you go into Ecclesiasticus, the 30th chapter, starting from the first verse all the way on down to about the 12th or 13th verse, it tells you about how to raise your son. It tells you about when you cocker your child, when you spoil your child, how you're not supposed to be too chipper, too cheerful with your child, especially your son. Or he could make you afraid when he comes of age, meaning what? He could turn on you. A young boy is like a young lion. When he comes to his full maturation and all he knows is being provided for by his parents, well, he's never learned about the real world and what he's going to have to confront. He's going to be very resentful towards his parents. You have a lot of cases of grown men living with their parents who end up killing their parents because they're so afraid of being forced out into the real world because they were not prepped from their youth. So once again, so-called black men, when you decide that you're going to bring forth a child, you're going to impregnate a woman, once again, all I do is give my perspective. Make sure that you have a plan for that boy. There are a lot of young black men who are incarcerated right now because cats did not have a plan for their son. You have to have a plan for your son. Your son is like a stock. Your daughter as well. But especially the son, because they're going to do things to make sure that your daughter can make her way. But of course, you have to plan for her as well because you don't want your daughter becoming a damn hoe. But when it comes to your son got to learn a trade, man. Especially if he's not sure what he wants to do after he graduates high school, assuming that he graduates high school.
30-year-old Michael Rotundo has caught the attention of households around the country as a headstrong squatter in his parents' suburban Syracuse home.
He's not headstrong, he's actually head weak. If he was strong in his head, he would have left already. There's nothing strong about him.
It's very tense, it's very awkward.
Parents Mark and Christina Rotundo told a judge they've been trying to evict their unemployed son for 8 years, writing him 5 notices since February, even gifting Michael $1,100 to pay.
Sometimes you can love your children too much in the wrong way. There is such a thing as inordinate affection. Sometimes you can love your son too much. You can love your daughter too much. You spoil them. Next thing you know, they don't know what it's like to actually have to be accountable, to have to be responsible. When I was a child, man, I used to think my father was running me ragged. Boy, go ahead and take care of that tub. Clean that bathroom. Make sure you take out that trash. When I get home, all that better be done. Make sure you run to the store and pick this up. Get that done by the time I get home. And now, that's why it's so easy for me to do those things like nothing. Boom, 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 boom. Grown man, because you're prepped from a child.
To pay rent to anyone else. In an interview today, Michael says he wants to move out but believes he's owed a 6-month notice.
This person states that he wants to move out, but he believes that he's owed a 6-month notice. Now, I'm not sure about the particulars of this case, but is he paying rent? For him to believe that he deserves a 6-month notice, that he signed some type of lease agreement with his parents? I doubt all that.
I would consider much of what they were doing to try to get me out as a tax. I'll leave. I don't like living here. But I need reasonable time.
But the judge ultimately sided with the parents. Michael blames an ongoing custody battle over his own son for overstaying his welcome at home.
Oh, so that's the real issue. That's the real tax. Notice he used that term tax because he understands that anytime you're given a levy, that's just a tax. Any type of bill that you're getting is a tax because there is no real money here. Okay? So when you decide to sign off on something, your signature actually is the payment because you're granting them the authority to access your trust because they're not using any gold or silver to bankroll the fiat currency. But when you understand the system, you know that you can gain it back through your expenditures as long as you understand the system. But that's neither here nor there. Point being is this person here has become slovenly. He just sits back and expects his parents to do everything for him. And now that he's finally being held responsible for his laziness, he does not know how to conduct himself properly. And I think that he also fears that he's not going to be able to monetize whatever it is that he learned in college, if anything. But the real crux of the matter is that he's being taxed by the female that he impregnated. And that's why I tell you, brothers, that you have to be very cognizant of who it is that you're procreating with. Extremely, 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 extremely important, man. I don't care how fat her ass is. I don't care how soft her lips are. I don't care about none of that shit. Does she care about you? Does she respect the masculine principle? Do you respect your own masculinity?
He's a college graduate,
I went for engineering, and then when I couldn't do the math, I switched to business.
but he couldn't keep a job.
The hair thing started with just like, why do I need to pay for haircuts?
So
Exactly. In other words, you got used to sitting at home. You lost hope in actually being able to acquire a job. So you say, fuck it, I'm just going to let my hair grow. I'm going to turn into a 2018 hippie. I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. Who knows? He may be a Luciferian behind closed doors. He may be a Thelemite. Many Thelemites decide that they're going to grow their hair and grow their beards all the way out and be unkempt about it. He may be addicted to some type of drug. Weed. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Normally, weed smoking goes hand in hand with the lack of ambition. And I'm sure that many of the weed heads who come on my channel are going to get upset by that. I don't give a shit. It is what it is.
psychologists say he isn't alone.
For the first time in history, a Pew Study found that there were more kids coming to live at home with their parents at some point, mid-20s. Maybe they need to push them out no matter what.
I have plans to be able to provide myself with the income I need to support myself, but it's not something that's going to come together tomorrow.
In other words, you're scared of actually having to go out and do something that millions of people do every day, which is a job that they don't necessarily like until they have the opportunity to do what they want to do with their life. What your ass needs to do is shave down that beard, tidy it up, get a haircut so that you can present yourself for interviews. You're a Caucasian man. You should not have that hard of a time finding a job. You're a college graduate. All you have to do is put your feet on the ground. And that may be the main reason why his parents are kicking him out, because they see that he has no aspirations.
Michael says once all of this is all over, he does not intend on keeping any kind of relationship with his parents.
And that's what happens when you as a parent decide, or you as a loved one, because you owe it to your loved ones to be honest with them. Like the scriptures state, have I become your enemy because I told you the truth? I believe that's in Galatians, the 4th chapter and the 16th verse. Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? People who love you are going to be honest with you. Now you have certain people who may despise you, and they're going to be so upfront with you because they seek to hurt you, but you should be able to tell the difference. Main thing, so-called black men, is make sure that you have things planned out as far as you can plan them out to the best of your ability. None of us are perfect. Different variables, different factors are going to enter our lives. Sometimes things are going to go left. But try to plan things out and always understand that things are not always going to go your way. They're not always going to go my way. It is what it is. That's why we have contingency plans. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And that's how it goes. But at no point should you be a burden on anyone. Living up in your parents' houses, they're supposed to be relaxing right now. His parents should be trying to decide what island resort they want to stay in over the next 2 weeks. Instead, they have to make sure that the refrigerator is filled because this lazy bastard is drinking up all the milk. What type of silly shit is that? And did you hear the psychiatrist? She stated that for the first time, many of these quote-unquote millennials, age 22 to about 29 years old, they're running back to live at home. Why is that? Because everything has to go their way. Everything has to go their way. If not, they protest. But there's no substance underneath the protest. That's why Colin Kaepernick resonates with a lot of these pea-brain dudes who can't think their way out of a paper bag. Because there's no substance to anything anymore. Once again, so-called black men, all you brothers are gifted. Work on your gifts, perfect your gifts, and then hopefully you can monetize them. So that when your parents get old, your parents can come live with you because you'll have the space, you'll have the lodgings. You won't have to put your parents up in one of these so-called old folks' homes where they get abused all the time. You have elderly people who get physically abused in these old folks' homes, man. So hopefully you'll have the lodgings for your parents as they get older, as opposed to you trying to live up under them for your whole damn life. But anyway.
From Manhattan, Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
That's pretty much it on that report. So, brothers, once again, man, go out there and live by yourself for a hot minute. You don't have to be any place fancy. But you definitely want to get up from under your mother, man. That's why I make those videos, the mama's boy problem. If you have to have a little lodging on your own, little studio apartment, 1 bedroom, there's nothing wrong with that. You bring the chick over, y'all do y'all thing, y'all watch TV, whatever. You know, don't have to be nothing serious. But make sure that you can provide for yourself. That gives you a sense of identity as a person. Live up under your mama house, and you know, you 28 years old, she talking about get up and make your bed. I mean, come on. What the hell's going on? But anyway, peace.